We have finally corralled him. He doesn't like to come on, but we finally got a chance here to have a chat with our good buddy Billy Ripken. He, of course, says hello. Laugh, Billy, laugh.
Well, I am laughing because you always say this, and I have to beg to get on your show. I love doing this show so much.
Nonsense.
I'm the one that actually pushes the envelope.
I don't want to hear it. You can come on anytime you want. We'll do the shortstop. So let's start with your old team, the Orioles. Is there any hope? Will they be more competitive? And a nice story there with the Mancini back. What's your take on this Baltimore team in 2021? Let me hear. Go ahead.
Well, I think it's going to be a rough season for them. I mean, let's be fair. They're not the Yankees. They're not the Rays. I don't think they're the Braves. And they're not the Red Sox. So I think it's going to be a rough season for them moving forward. But you know what? The idea is when you start getting the top picks of the baseball draft in that top 2-3 range, you can't miss on them. And I think that's where the Orioles are. When you look at where Rushman's timetable is to get to the big leagues, can you accumulate enough talent around him that when you bring those guys up, you have a core that you can actually work with and do some damage? So I would suspect it's going to be a fairly rough season for them once again. But if you hit these draft choices moving forward, I think recent history has shown that you can do something in a pretty short period of time.
100%. Good answer. Well done. All right, the shortstops. There's a lot of them out there. I think Seager is going to end up with LA no matter what. I guess I'll have to think that Lindor ends up with the Mets. We've done a lot of that today. I think Baez is interesting, and so is Correa. Do you think they will, in the long term, be members of the Cubs or the Astros, or do you think both those teams will move on after this year? What's your take on that?
You know that's a tough one because I think what you hit on first, Seager and Lindor, I think are the two big dogs that are out there. And I think if you look at the overall body of work of Seager, I think that we lost sight of how good this guy was. I know he went on last year. He was basically the Dodgers' best offensive player in that shortened season of last year. We saw what he did in the NLCS, what he did in the World Series, and he really only had one bad year when he missed an awful lot of time with the Tommy John and the hip surgery. So I think he's going to end up being a Dodger. Lindor's comments the other day about, I'm not going to take this past opening day, this conversation. I will hit free agency. And I heard you earlier talking about how much of a distraction could that be. And I'm of the mindset with you. I've never been in the, that world of Francisco Lindor where you have so much talent, you can bet on yourself the way he's willing to do it. But what would be more of a distraction? Let's say the Mets offer him $8 and $240, all right? 30 per year, 8 years, 240, and he turns it down before opening day, and he says, that's it. Negotiations are off. And then he starts out the year like 5 for 35 at home plate. I think that would weigh on the man a little bit more than having some sort of ongoing conversation. So I'm really interested to see how this plays out. Look, I think that Seager is unbelievable talent. Lindor is an unbelievable talent right with him, and those are the two top dogs. But I'm interested to see how this is going to play out with Lindor and the Mets as far as negotiations go.
Excellent point. 5 for 35. Mets struggle. Fans, they won't be in the ballpark yet, but it's a very good point. Story is a tricky one to evaluate. That ballpark obviously helps them an awful lot. Not great on the road. They just got rid of Arenado. They're not going to re-sign him. They'll probably think about trading him by middle of July. I'm not sure how good he really is. I know the numbers say he is, but it is Colorado. What's your take on him? Let me get a feel.
Well, I think there's certain players that transcend a little bit of that Colorado light air. I think Nolan Arenado's one. I think we are both in agreement that Nolan Arenado can go to St. Louis this year and hit 30 home runs and drive in 110 runs for the Cardinals. And I think Story might be that same type guy. Do they benefit from the light air in Colorado? Yes. But they also, when they go on the road, there's a different thing that they have to make adjustments with as well. So if you put those guys in one environment for the period of time, I think their talent's going to speak volumes. Or the number's going to be quite as good as maybe Colorado, maybe not. But he's a heck of a shortstop, and he can hit some homers.
Interesting. Okay, so you like him too. Well done there. All right. From a Houston perspective, that's they're a big market. They got Bregman and Altuve signed long term, and they're going to be good again. I don't know about their pitching, but they can score runs. Yeah, I think Correa does want to stay there. You think they will go look to talk to him, or you think Correa's on his way out of? You can't have everybody on your team making $300 million. But what's your take on Correa there in Houston? Let me get a feel.
You know, you're right. You can't have everybody, and even in this world that we've just seen the San Diego Padres take on contracts of 300 plus on two guys. Not everybody is going to be able to do that. Correa is interesting to me because when you see what he's capable of doing, and on the biggest stage, postseason, man shows up.
Right.
But he doesn't play 155 games during a 162-game season very often for you. So that's an interesting one for me, because if I'm going to look at a shortstop and I want to lock that position up, I got to feel good that I'm going to pencil a guy's name in the lineup playing shortstop every single day, at least for 155 of those days, if I'm going to spend that much money. So I think they're going to see how this thing plays out a little bit with Correa. You've already said Altuve and Bregman are locked up. It would be okay to get a third one right there. I think offensively they're going to be fine. My question marks for the Houston Astros for this year is like yours. It's a little bit with the pitching staff.
Oh, 100% are good. They're in a division that's winnable, but their pitching is spotty. How about Gleyber Torres with the Yankees, Billy? It seems like it's got a little something to prove. Last year, the shortstop thing didn't work out. So, I mean, he was okay, but
right.
he certainly, that was a little downgrade from the previous years with Didi. He's a great hitter. What's your take on him playing a position for 150 games? Let me get a feel.
Well, he definitely made some mistakes, and that's going to be something that Work's going to have to take care of that. And from my recollection, it looked like throwing was a little bit more problem than fielding. And I think what you got to do is you got to go out there at the shortstop position and you got to work hard. You got to make your throws in practice, and you've got to make that routine. Look, the Yankees are in a situation where they're going to be good. And if the defense behind the pitchers can just get the outs that they're supposed to get, they're not going to lose some of those games where if they boot a ball, you can't play the Yankees and expect to win if the Yankees go out there and get all the outs that they're supposed to. And I think the shortstop position and Gleyber, he's going to have to tighten that up a little bit, because you're going to make teams a little bit better playing against you when you give them extra outs. He's got to work at that.
Especially in the postseason with these games, a little play here, a little play there. Billy, keep in touch. Always a pleasure. We'll talk soon. Thanks for coming on today.
All right, Christopher. Appreciate you.